the thing I often think about is I had a brother who went into the seminary, the Redemptorist seminary, when I was 5 years old. And I always kind of think that that planted the seed of my vocation. My brother didn't continue. He left after 2 years, but it was what, got me to know the Redemptorist and have the desire to join them. And I just remember, as a little 5 year old, the thing that always the thing that impressed me when I went to visit was that they always seemed to enjoy washing the dishes. And so I thought there must be something about this group that things that are terrible that we don't want to do, that they bring them joy. And so, like as a little boy, I had this seed planted in me, a desire to be a Redemptorist. There were two Redemptorists that became close to our family. One was Father Dave Pollock, who's stationed at St. Clement's right now. And then Father Emmett Collins, who I don't know, he maybe died maybe 10 years ago. But they became good friends with our family, and was through their contact that when I was 14, I decided I wanted to enter into the high school seminary as well. My first profession was in 1985. I had entered the seminary in 1978 as a junior in high school. And I always had this desire that I wanted to be a Redemptorist. That's what meant the most to me. And I remember our novitiate was in Oconomowoc, and the night before my profession, I went for a run around the lake. And as I was finishing the run, I could see the novitiate in the distance, and I was like, my heart was just filled with joy that I'm now going to be what I've always wanted to be, to become a Redemptorist. And it was just an experience of being filled with the Spirit and this joy that I was going to be a member of the Redemptorist community. Our group, I think there were 10 who were professed that day, and of the 10 of them, let me see, 3, 4, 6 of us are still Redemptorists, and so we've always been very close friends and a big support to one another as we've continued to journey together, And then my ordination was in 1989. If you look out the front window, you can see the church I was ordained at, St. Michael's. And for me, priesthood is more about ministry and service, and Redemptorist is more about who I am. And it was like the culmination of a journey to be able to continue to minister with the poor and the most abandoned. In 37 years, I've almost only worked with the Latino community, but it's a much more vibrant and a life-giving community, and I really feel like I've been nourished by the spirituality of the Latino people. It's been a blessing, the Latino culture, especially the sense of community and the sense of of a popular religiosity, that religion isn't just something you do for an hour on Sunday, but it's a part of your life. Something you experience much more directly here living in Mexico, but in the years that I've lived in the States, I mean, it's just been a blessing, and like their liturgies are much more vibrant and lively. I oftentimes say when I have Mass in English, I could be the youngest person in the church, and when I have it in Spanish, I'm the oldest person in the church. So it's been a great blessing. I also spent 3 years in Brazil, which was a very similar experience of church, as far as a young and lively and life-giving. Obviously our mission was in the Amazon jungle, so it was a very different reality than, like right now, Torreon is a city of about a million people. Uh, so it's a different kind of experience, but it was still that experience of a life-giving church. In the sense that I know that I'm not Latino. Uh, I'm not I don't know what it's like to be a minority. I don't know what it's like to be uh, fearful that because of the color of your skin or the language that you speak, that someone's going to stop you and question your legal status. You know, and so it's been more of a sense of accompanying uh, people who are in that situation. That to know that our Redemptorist charism of the poor and the most abandoned. Right now, uh, they certainly the Latino community is persecuted in the United States, and that understanding of being the poor, but the spirituality part is that to know that Jesus is with them regardless, and not that that means that they're not going to get deported, because they do get deported, but that in the midst of it, that Jesus is still Lord and Savior, and that in the end, Jesus will triumph. My belief is that Jesus is there in the midst of it all, and not that that means that there's going to be easy answers. It's just that to be able to be with us. That like one of the most difficult things in a priest is being with parents at the loss of a child. And uh, like the parents are saying, why do they take my son? And to know that there isn't an answer. And to be able to be with them in the midst of their suffering is uh, is what my image of Jesus is. Especially now in the Easter season. Mary Magdalene was Jesus appeared to her first. And the reason why Jesus appeared to her first wasn't because she was the best disciple or she was more faithful, but rather because she stayed there at the tomb. Everybody else left, but Mary Magdalene continued to be there. And in those difficult moments, like the example of a loss of a child or someone being deported, to just to be able to be with people. I used to think I needed to have some kind of an answer, or find a lawyer that's going to get your legal status okay, and whatever, and to know I don't need to have an answer, but if I'm able to be to be faithful and to continue to stay with people in the midst of that brokenness and the struggle. That's my image of Jesus. Yeah, obviously, St. Alphonsus, I have a great affection for St. Alphonsus, and the his method of mental prayer. And the other thing I think about it is the fact that St. Alphonsus, as the doctor of prayer, he had this belief that that prayer is not just something for uh, the monks and the priests and the religious or the people who have time and money, but it was for everyone. And that idea, like even before he was Redemptorist, he started these evening chapels in Naples, and that idea of being with people and being able to teach them how to be people of prayer, uh, and so I think that motivates me in my not just in deepening my spirituality, but also as a minister. And the other thing for me is very important uh, is to be able to spend time in the presence of the Blessed Sacrament, Again, St. Alphonsus' great book is the Visits of the Blessed Sacrament. But just, living in a house and knowing that the Blessed Sacrament is here, and, I can go down the hall and, at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, and just to be able to spend time in the presence of Jesus. The thing about being in formation is, again, that sense of accompanying, and to be with men when they're in that process of discovering their call from Jesus, and to know that like some of the best stories are, the people who decided to leave, that wasn't their call, wasn't to become a Redemptorist missionary, but to be able to help them in that discernment, just to be able to be with them and to create that sense of community. But when they do have questions and doubts, to be able to help them in the midst of their questions and doubts. But basically that idea of accompanying, so that my same feeling about being in ministry in a parish or retreat house, it's ministry of accompaniment, the same thing in formation. The thing is, like thinking about especially co-redemptors, my experience as formation director in the United States, and also being here in Mexico, is because of the generosity of benefactors. Monies have never been an issue for someone who wants to become a redemptress. And so, I mean, I just think of that great blessing of our benefactors, making it possible uh, to 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 answer the call. And it's spring break or Holy Week here in Mexico, and so we have a seminarian from here who's home for the week, and there's a lady who always comes to daily mass, and she just was asking me at the mass at 12 o'clock, so just less than an hour ago, she said, "Oh, we're the madrinas, or the sponsors for Jesus. That's the name of the seminary, and we wanted to take them out for lunch tomorrow if you wanted to go out together with us for lunch." And so I thought that was great. Just the idea that they don't want to just send money, but they also want to have a relationship with the seminarians. And so I mean, I think that's just a great blessing, to know the generosity of the people, but also the fact that together we form a community, a family together.